You know, are the Chinese really going to admit how much they're buying or selling? Do you really believe the Russian numbers? Look, I'm probably the biggest Putin fan around. I don't know. Does Grant, you've got a buddy that follows that stuff very closely.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen that chart. From what I saw, the central banks were sellers up until 2009, and in aggregate, they've been buying gold since 2009. In Q3 2015, their year-on-year purchases were down about 3%, but it was an all-time high a year previously. So the central banks have been buying consistently. I mean, say in aggregate. I'm not sure if this was a selection of those banks but the charts are in my presentation tomorrow, funnily enough, which is how I've got the numbers in my head. I don't
Jeff,
know all this stuff.
Do you follow it?
Very closely. Yeah. Central banks have been net buyers of gold since about 2008 or so. There have been very few central banks that have been selling. I'm not quite sure what the data that you looked at. One of the major things actually wasn't a sale, but the Bank for International Settlement had done some dollar gold swaps to help provide liquidity to commercial banks in Europe. And a couple years ago, they were unwinding some of those swaps. So it looked like they were reducing their gold holdings, but really what they were doing was simply unwinding short-term swaps that they had done with commercial banks in Europe. The big news in central banks is that the People's Bank of China in July made a big announcement. They made a lot of big announcements in July. The most important ones had to do with the yuan, widening the trading band, and moving to accelerate the move toward convertibility. But they also said, as part of this movement to accelerate the move to convertibility of the yuan, they had reconsidered their 60-year held view that gold would never play a significant role as a monetary reserve asset. And they said, while we don't think it will be a big reserve asset, it will be significant. We've bought 19 million ounces of gold over the last few years, and we will continue to buy gold mostly in the domestic market, and we will add it to our monetary reserves as we buy it now instead of pooling it. A big part of that 19.7 million ounces that they bought 2013, 14, 15 probably actually came from the Chinese Sovereign Wealth Fund, China Investment Corp, and from SAFE, which is another government agency which will buy and hold assets. We believe that those two agencies, which don't report because they're not a central bank, they don't report their investments, their investment fund and a strategic asset fund, we believe that they were buyers in 2009 through 2012 and then actually sold some of their gold. And when they buy and sell gold, they use the People's Bank of China as the agent for those transactions. And we believe that the People's Bank of China, 2013, 14, 15, said rather than sell this gold for these guys, we'll just buy it from them and add it to our reserves.
Do you believe in the Chinese numbers?
I don't believe in anything. But I do think that the Chinese, the People's Bank of China is extremely accurate in reporting its currency reserves, including its gold assets.
Okay. Any other questions in the